Good morning. This is the March 20th, 2018 meeting of the Personnel Board. I am Mary Beth Marziotti. I'm the Vice Chair.
Jim Dunn.
Peter Fox.
Bo Smolka.
Joan Godecki.
Greg Diaconis.
And Lorna Wade is not able to be here today. So I will open the meeting at 9 o'clock. And I would like to welcome Peter Fox as our new full-time member and Joan Gardecki as our new alternate. Thank you very much.
Good to be back.
Yes.
Welcome, Joan.
So we have the minutes from last month's meeting, February 20th. Has everyone had a chance to review?
Yes.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Appointments and resignations. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna take Lorna's copy because there's a little bit more information here, maybe. You are Stephen?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, so so we don't have anything under appointments or resignations. Do we have any citizens' comments? No. Okay, old business, building department clerk. At our last meeting, we had requested information from Nelson Burlingame on his clerk's job description and duties, and he did send in a packet of information. We have the job description.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the job description that has been presented to us. But we would each need to have to read it. We'll accept receipt of the job description, and we'll read it and come back and approve it at our next meeting.
Second that.
Right, I just want to point out it's not just the job description, which is a job description that's already approved, but we also have a whole packet of information on improvements that Jennifer has made in the department. Building department total fees collected over the past 4 years. And what is this?
Comparison of the wages.
A list of permits and fees that are handled. We have a list of the budget for the past few years for the department, and finally a list of surrounding towns and what clerks make in similar jobs in the surrounding towns. So it is a lot of information to absorb, so we will, anyway, I just wanted to add that it's not just a job description we're going over, it's all of that other information.
Yep.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Stephen Rogerson. Rogerson or Rogerson?
It's Rogerson.
Rogerson, sorry.
Sarah, they say Rogerson, I don't know why.
I have it, Steve, thank you.
This is basically the same thing I presented at the selectmen meeting on the 26th of February.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So do you want me to go through the whole presentation that I made to the selectmen's meeting on the 26th of February? I did send out the letters. I started out with the letter going to Lorna Wade on the 7th of February, and then we had some discussion. And then she advised me to go to the selectmen's meeting as well before coming to this meeting.
Maybe an abridged, summarized version?
Yes.
Two issues. The one issue is the clerk for the Veterans Office. Our office is a Pamela Young. She's been here about 3 years and 4 months, and she was started at $12 an hour, and others have been starting at 14. And she's never received a penny increase since. So that's one part of this issue. The other issue is the Veterans Office. I had requested and made it to the selectmen, and they had voted to have it go to Greg to see if Greg could work out to make it full-time. Currently, it's part-time. It's been part-time since basically 1946 when the law was passed. This is one of the few positions in the Commonwealth where it's mandated by law that a Veterans Officer has to be in every community and has to help veterans. A lot of communities are part-time and a lot are full-time. So that's a thesis of starting this out, that we're at the point now that we can't handle the workload at a part-time basis. I can't do it. I'm here 2 or 3 days a week during Memorial Day month, which is coming in May. Every single day I'm working, every single day. So basically we're not being given the support that we really need to support veterans in the community, and it's increasing. But I have a written statement here if you want me to read it. Greg, do you think it's necessary to go through it?
I think in summary fashion, it's a good idea because the personnel board is the ones who will make a decision.
Okay. All right, the purpose of this presentation is to demonstrate the need to restructure the Veterans Office to reflect the greater amount of time necessary to meet the needs of our veteran population. Currently, the hours, which I just stated, the operation, they're not meeting the needs of the community. To give a little, there's just under 700 veterans in Dudley. That's not including veterans, veterans' families, that's just veterans. So we have a lot of widows who are given support, who come in consistently, and I just don't have the time. So I'm giving up my personal cell phone number, my email address that goes on my home computer, which is the Dudley email address, to support the veterans and the widows and the families in the community, and it's becoming to be a little too much. So basically, the history of the Veterans Office: in the 1940s, the Commonwealth of Mass passed a law which mandated that all communities have a veteran service officer to assist and provide aid to veterans in the community. In addition, the VSO would have another position as a veterans burial agent. That's something a lot of people don't realize. Every veteran that passes, we have to give them a military funeral. It's not just a federal law, it's a state law, that we have to give them a proper military burial. And we have a group, the council, which I'm the junior vice commander of, the Veterans Council for Webster and Dudley. But it's part of the function that we have here. There has been a veteran service officer in Dudley since 1946, and the first VSO was Stephen Plaza. He was employed in that position until 1971. Upon his retirement, Mr. Robert Rock, a lot of us knew him as Sergeant Rock, to 2005. At the time, Richard Hallwell, which we're probably all familiar with here, he took over duties in Dudley and remained in that position into 2016, of September, which I assumed responsibility. I was actually working with him for about 8 months prior to taking the position, because there's a lot to know. At this time, our permanent schedule is Thursday, 12 to 7, effective July 2017. Greg was kind enough to give me a few extra hours last year so I could accommodate the veterans. Prior to that, the Veterans Office had scheduled hours on Thursday, 4 to 7, just 3 hours a week, and it appears that those 3 hours per week was the schedule set back in 1946. So from 1946 to last July, those remaining hours for 3 hours a week. And how was it able to be functioned was Rich was full-time in Webster, and most of the work that was done for Dudley was being done in Webster because he was full-time over there. When he came here for 3 hours, he would catch up and do filing of the paperwork that he had to accommodate. So we had responsibilities for both towns. For that reason, of course, Mr. Hallway had more hours to attend to veterans of both towns. The town of Dudley, the Veterans Office needs to catch up the amount of assistance that is now required for our veterans and their families. Our current schedule, of course, does not meet the demand of what needs to be accomplished for the benefits, for the benefit of the town. And like I stated before, I've tried to make it up by giving out my email address and my cell phone number to try to handle business outside when they really needed help. I have veterans who are just returned back from Iraq and Afghanistan. They have issues. Really get specific on those issues, but they have issues they need. Some of them call me daily to speak about some of the challenges they're going through, and I have to kind of counsel them and sometimes send them into VA facilities such as in Brockton or other ones. Worcester only has a outpatient clinic, so I have to send them to a hospital where they can get help that's open 24 hours a day. The duties and responsibilities of the VSO and the Director of Veterans Military Funerals has changed substantially over the years. From the time when the VSO position was established in Dudley, until soon after Rich Harwood took over, the workload was minimal at best, and basically had very few veterans that needed assistance either under programs of the Commonwealth or the United States government. It is a mandate that Veterans Service Officers be understanding of all regulatory rules and procedures. This is done to give assistance as can be best done for our veterans, as well as making sure the town be reimbursed the assistance for the Commonwealth. Currently, our Veterans Office has many veterans, widows who need current interaction, which is covered under Massachusetts General Law, CMR 108, Chapter 115. Under this law, the Veterans Service Officer oversees a financial assistance program that allows a monthly stipend to those veterans in need, and this also includes the decorations of veterans' graves, hero graves, for Memorial Day, Veterans Day, providing honor guard duties to burials, military funerals, and carry out commemorative activities related to Dudley's veterans. We have numerous veterans also whom we assist under Title 38. This is United States Code. As it pertains to veterans, this involves medical care involving the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and pensions, compensation due to military accidents, injuries, etc. Many of these allotments do not appear until some years have passed, such as environmental poisons, e.g. Agent Orange for Vietnam vets, Gulf War syndrome, and the Camp Lejeune contamination, which affects the Marine Corps and the Navy. A lot of the veterans that we're basically burying right now are Vietnam vets that die for Agent Orange. It's a real big problem. So when they have those type of issues, they need help with filling out these intricate and usually intimidated forms for people, and therefore our help is requested increasingly and frequently. This was not the case 1 year ago, but due to aging population of veterans and spouses and other factors, we are busier than ever. The veterans cannot fill out these forms themselves. It's been requested of us from the federal government and by the Commonwealth, Department of Veterans Affairs and Services, as well as the VFW, American Legion, that we do that for them. They cannot do it themselves, and a lot of time the veteran has to go to the VA himself, try to get assistance, but they're only there a couple days a week to assist them. So the veterans officer is required to assist them, and it's very complicated, and if you don't do it properly, it just gets kicked back. You miss a word, you miss a check mark, and it's gone. So much time is devoted to investigation and research and the advocacy of potential claims for our veterans, but at the same time, developing working relationships with applicable federal, state, and county departments and agencies dealing with homelessness, addictions, unemployment, and DOR issues. In respect to homeless veterans, we have nurtured a close relationship with Veterans Inc., which is the closest shelter for homeless veterans, to the point that other communities reach out to us. The Veteran Service Officer is also responsible for representing the town of Dudley within all the local veterans organizations, such as the Worcester County Veteran Service Officer Association, the Massachusetts Veteran Service Association, the VFW, American Legion, Polish American Veterans Club, the Disabled American Veterans, other civic groups, schools, Dudley's Veterans Council, also a member on the board of Veterans Inc., which has been quite helpful trying to help veterans when I need to get them a place to stay and get them addiction treatment. The Veterans Office facilitates, in cooperation with local groups such as the Dudley Women's Club, as well as several other organizations, i.e. church groups, and with the distribution of holiday baskets, gift cards, meals, and other needed resources. unfortunately, much of my time is also spent in visiting hospitals and nursing homes, giving support to veterans and their families. And I'll get to the end of it here. With the expansion of hours for the Veteran Service Officer comes the expansion of the clerk, Pamela Young, which I mentioned in the beginning, and she's at 7 hours a week and at $12 an hour when the average seems to be in Dudley at 16, and I'm asking that it be increased. One of the big concerns that I'm coming up to this point, and I had brought this out at the end of the meeting, with the selectmen's meeting, that my office, and I'm at this point with veterans, is which benefits and services do we not offer veterans within Dudley? At that point now, without, because I have severe time constraints. And I'm forcing myself to come in extra hours to support them with that, but it's not falling in with the perimeter of what I've allocated to support veterans. So we have to make a choice of which veterans we don't offer them, which is illegal. I have to, if a veteran comes in the office and needs assistance, either on the federal side or the Commonwealth side, I have to offer them support and assistance. And dealing with these claims that we have to put in, fighting with the VA, and that's a fight. It's a battle. I have to sit down with them, explain what they need. It usually takes an hour to 2 hours. Then I have to have them come back to fill out forms. I have to give them some homework to do. They have to come back with the ailments, because I have them go home and fill out what are the ailments. Some of these Vietnam vets with Agent Orange, they have 30 different ailments that are connected to Agent Orange. It's devastating. And then they have to come back, and I have to go through the forms with them, and then I have to sit down with the family. And sometimes a veteran, it's challenging for them because they're have escalated in age a little bit, and it's not as easy for them to comprehend as they did probably years ago. Okay? So I'm requesting that the department, the office, be increased to full-time, and I'm increasing that Pam Young's salary or pay rate be increased.
You're increasing the office to be full-time?
Yes, full-time.
Full-time for you,
Yes,
and part-time, 20 hours for your clerk.
yeah.
She has not received any cost of living increase?
Received nothing. I'm not blaming Dudley for that, and I'll tell you why. You know, when I first spoke to Lorna Wade about it, about this whole issue, and I actually sent her a letter, which all of you probably should have seen on the 7th. Did you see a letter on the 7th of February?
Yes.
Okay. So I sent that letter out requesting, what to do, and she said, I've never received a self-assessment or an assessment of her being from Rich Hallway, and I didn't know about it last year. I've been in this position about a year and a half now. I didn't know about this for her. So I had put one together, assembled it, and given it to Lorna Wade, I don't know, about 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I think that's probably what held back maybe a little bit. But she's received nothing, not a penny. And she's been there 3 years and 4 months, as I said, according to her. But if we want to support veterans, it has to go to full-time. In my opinion, that's my request. That's my request to Greg. Myself and Greg have had conversations over the last year or so dealing with that issue.
I appreciate your presentation here. It gave me a lot of information that just about what you do in your office and the types of services that you offer. So I think that's very helpful for us and also for anybody who's watching it at home to know that what you're accomplishing here.
Yeah, recently there's been some publication in some of the big newspapers, one for Webster Times and the Worcester paper, and I had received a lot of phone calls and some emails about that. A lot of support from the community. I didn't realize it would go that far. I just figured I'd give my talk to the selectmen. I didn't realize anybody even watches it. But a lot of veterans I've helped their families, and even the veteran had passed on, but the family remembered the support that Rich Hallway had given them in the past and the support we had given them, and that was very, very nice. But it is true. Most people do not know what the Veterans Officer does. They walk by my office, they see the flags, they don't realize that a lot of work goes in there. There's a lot of counseling that goes on. There's a lot of sit-downs that go on. There's a lot of support for families who don't know. There are people who come in who really, they just want to find out what we do. Okay? And there are a lot of people who feel they're veterans when Really, they're not according to the federal and state standard, but they come in and we spend time with them to see if we can push them into a different direction if we cannot help them.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I have to step back on this since I'm one of his clients,
Mm-hmm.
so I will not vote on this.
It's true. I helped Jim, when I first started, I think my first month in the position, I had helped Jim.
Okay.
I have a question. You said that Webster has a full-time veterans agent. Do they have a clerk as well?
They do. Actually, Rich Holler is the clerk. He's actually assistant. You know, Rich likes to stay close to the veterans' activities, so he remains there. He's pretty much there every day, and he is the clerk.
Okay.
So it's a very supported office from the town of Dudley. The same as over in some of the other towns that are local.
Okay, through the chair, there's actually 2 requests here. There's one for you to become a full-time agent, and one to increase Pamela Young's salary plus her hours from 7 to 20 hours a week.
Yeah, if the officer become full-time, I had put in a budget, I have copies of the budget, and I made some references to that as well. I wasn't sure if I should have passed that out or not.
Yeah, any information is helpful.
Okay.
Okay, but a little follow-up on what you just said is, if you were to become full-time, what would happen to Pamela? You want her to go to 20 hours also?
Yes. If I became full-time, my request that she would, be a 20-hour employee.
Okay, and has she had a performance appraisal?
Yes, I had done one. I passed one into
And you
Little
gave
Wade
it-
about a month ago.
Okay, and her job description?
I'm not sure if a job description, I assume that one must have been done when she was hired.
We would
Okay?
have
I've
to-
never seen one.
She was originally brought on board in an interim capacity. So Mr. Holler requested, I guess it was about 2 years ago, that she come on board to assist us with some of the paperwork that we had fallen behind on, and it was a shared arrangement with Webster. So at that time, there was no job description that would have been put together on the position. It just
Okay.
evolved.
So I think that would be important to have
Yes.
for our review is a job description of everything that she is doing and potentially what more she could accomplish with the extra hours,
Okay.
what she's able to do now versus.
I guess one was never assembled. No, there was a predecessor to Pam, Greg.
Not in my tenure.
Denise, was it?
No, Pam was the person that I recall coming on board a couple of years ago. There might have been someone else, but originally it was shared with Webster. Dudley had assumed some of the costs because of the arrangement that Stephen had indicated, where Webster was doing some of our work with the veterans agent. So we willingly agreed that we would provide some clerical services to catch up, because as Steve mentioned, the amount of paperwork that's involved in administering the office is significant. You don't want to fall behind. Again, you put a check mark in the wrong column, you don't submit a piece of paper, the claim gets denied. So we thought that it was a prudent use of everyone's time to have Pam brought on board to do that. And I still believe it's important to maintain that clerical assistance.
I will assemble one, and I should email it to Ms. Wade, is
Yes,
that correct?
yes.
Okay. I'll have one completed, hopefully this week, if I can find time to do that, not next week.
Okay. See, the reason I ask about that is because we have asked all department heads, and a bunch of them have come before us with requests this year, and I think you know that. But we have to see what their job description is, what added responsibilities, and what their new job description would be for us to make any kind of recommendation.
Okay.
One of the major concerns that I have, not just with your request, but with all the requests, is I think everybody is well aware of the financial situation that the town is facing. And it's enormous. We have a huge and important override coming up on April 3rd. The town administrator's responsibility, at least in my opinion, his number one responsibility is the budget.
Sure.
And right now, he does not have all the information needed to formulate a accurate budget at this time, because we don't know what the school result will be. We still don't have any numbers from the state. So I have recommended to this board that we take any recommendations under advisement, but take no action at this time, because we don't have any financial picture where we stand today. And I would make that a recommendation again today. The board supports people being paid fairly. I have gone on the record of supporting the 90% factor from the area towns, that we be able to compensate our employees properly. But right now, today, the bottom line is we don't know where we stand with the budget.
Yeah, I understand that. I've spoken to Greg in the past about that. I understand he's the controller.
Right.
Okay.
I understand it very clearly. I have a business background, so I understand that. Okay, when I gave my presentation to the selectmen, it was just basically say, this is where we stand. Tell me what you want me to do. Okay, of course, in the middle of it, I had to say, I can't cut this out, I can't cut that out, because it's the law.
Right.
This is the one position in the town, I don't know how many positions are here, that's mandated by law to have a veterans officer, okay, to help veterans. And I know going through the population from with the feds and the state, the Commonwealth's telling me, is it just under 700 veterans in Dudley? And I was getting, when this went into the Worcester paper, I had VSOs all over the county, you know, contacting me over it. Because some of those communities are going through the same thing. But it's kind of funny, like 2 days after I gave my presentation, I read through some communication we have through other VSO organizations, that some of the other local towns in Massachusetts have now gone full-time as well. And they've been at it. It's a problem, because the veterans issues are growing. The war in Iraq, I was in Desert Storm, 1990. It's still going on today. It never ended. More people have been killed in Iraq now than in Vietnam. And we thought Vietnam was an extreme number, close to 60,000 people. Iraq passed that like 4 years ago. And it's continuing. And it's adding, the people are coming back with problems, and we're gonna give them help. And we're not exactly next to a VA center. So I have to make arrangements for them to get transportation. I have to go through the DAV, Disabled American Veterans Group. We used to have a driver locally. He had quit. He was a volunteer, and I have to make really long-term arrangements and leads 2 hours away to get transportation for veterans, either going to Worcester and these other places. And I had some legal training in October by the Department of Veteran Services and Affairs, and they stated no longer can we give them rides personally. And
Wow.
they don't want us doing certain things. They had the attorney representing and advising us, you know, what we used to do in the past, we know what it can do. So I have to, it's a lot of work, and it's a struggle. Last week I had a call from a gentleman, he's got a lot of medical issues. He's got muscular dystrophy, he has other issues that are connected to Agent Orange, and he himself didn't have a ride. And I really had to work very hard to do that.
Steve, I don't want you to think that I am not understanding of your situation. I am. I'm a veteran myself, and I do understand your predicament. But right now, I hope you understand our situation, our financial situation that the town faces today. And we have to work all that out before we can make this board can make recommendations and decisions.
Like I said, the meaning for my presentation to selectmen, a lot of people misunderstood it. My whole thesis is just to let people know what's going on. That's it. When Rich Howell was here, he left September 2016, a year and a half ago. When he left, he had full-time in Webster. So he absorbed the extra work over there. But the work has doubled since he's left. It's doubled. Even he comes to visit me Thursday afternoons for 2 hours to help, because he still has a lot of knowledge. It's impossible to read a book and understand everything helping veterans. There's so much going on. And you station at Camp Lejeune, you get different issues. You go over in Iraq or Afghanistan. There are all these different campaigns have different issues, and you have to read up on it, and you have to research it. So that was my thesis was basically, this is what we're doing. The town needs to understand it, and that's it.
If you can get us that updated job description, that will be helpful. If you have other information on what a veterans clerk is earning in surrounding towns, that's helpful information to us as well, because that's how we have been able to determine, 90% of surroundings. So if you can get that to Lorna in the coming weeks before our next meeting, that will be, yes?
Steve, is there any of the stuff that you do that is supplemented by the state or by the federal government financially?
Between 75 to 100% of what I do is reimbursed to the town of Dudley. Mostly from the Commonwealth. It comes directly back. I talk about giving a stipend to veterans and families that are in need. These would be close to being indigent type individuals who find themselves in hard times. There's a special program within the Commonwealth under Chapter 115, okay? That's reimbursed with 75%. So the checks we give up from Dudley comes back to Dudley, accountable for 75%. Now, the burials and things of that nature that are connected to indigent veterans, in January I had 3 of them. I had 3 veterans I had to bury. We had to cover the cost. That comes back 100%. It just depends what you're doing, but most of it's 75% that comes back to Dudley. So when you look at a budget about the money going to Chapter 115, most of that does come back.
Okay.
Which is positive. But that's through the Commonwealth. That's a Commonwealth program. And we're different than other states. Massachusetts does more for veterans than any other state.
Well, excuse me, what I was trying to find out if there's any money of your pay or your clerk's pay was, okay.
None of it comes to me. Each
Okay.
town is responsible for their veterans officer, and that's the way the law was put together. I'm not sure if you ever had a chance to look at the law, but it's pretty clear. And it was done in the mid-40s. I mean, 1946. That's the first VSO, Stephen Plaza, came on board here in Dudley. I know he retired in 1971, so some time ago.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and we will look forward to getting that information from you.
All right, so to be clear, I have to get a job description for Pam.
Yep.
What else would you like to have from me?
If you have any information on the clerk's pay, veterans clerk's pay from surrounding towns.
Okay. I can do that. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Stephen.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have been working on our employee handbook updates. And Peter, you've been working on that with Lorna?
Yes, we've met twice already. We're almost finished reviewing it with some of our recommendations. We have got about 5 more pages, and I will meet with Lorna when she's available and finish that. Then I believe she will meet with the town administrator and go over it and make sure that he has the administrator's recommendations involved in that also. So we should have that completed very shortly.
Okay. Next on the agenda is to set a date with the town administrator and 1 member of the Board of Selectmen regarding the employee evaluations. So that's, I think we've all gone over all of the evaluations that have been submitted. And
I've
then-
read them, and Joan knows where they are if she wants to read them all, and
I don't know where they are now.
they're right on top of
Yes.
They're all done.
your desk.
If on my desk.
But I would say we wait till Lorna.
Lorna can, yeah. Lorna
Peter,
can
maybe
s-
the best way is, I can send us some dates that I'm available,
That's,
and we'll see if there's one that everyone's in agreement with. I've communicated with the chairman of the selectmen. He's working in Boston right now, so there may be some difficulty with getting the chair. We'll have to look at another member, as we did in the past, who might be willing to step up and go through the reviews with us. Takes about an hour.
okay.
Okay. New business, request to approve policy regarding nepotism and appearance of conflict, approved by the Board of Selectmen, March 12th, 2018. So I've been looking at the employee handbook. We do have information on both of those policies that was put into place, Jim, about how long? A couple of years ago.
It was the last year before this gentleman come on board, so.
2013.
So, under number 20 in the handbook, family member employment policy, we do have information on nepotism, and then the next section is Massachusetts policy for conflict of interest law, appearance of a conflict of interest. But has that been updated since this policy? I did not see the selectmen's meeting last week.
Yeah, the board adopted the language that you have in front of you. So the nepotism policy provides clarity. The State Ethics Commission typically looks at what's called immediate family as being a conflict of interest. This policy is more specific by saying that any family member may not be hired or considered for a position, so it's a little bit more restrictive in that regard. And then there's additional language in here about disclosures that need to be filed for employees that have conflicts. We ran into an unfortunate situation with dealing with an employee disciplinary action in one department where there was a family member that was as a supervisor. And it created a really nightmarish situation where there was an allegation that the supervisor covered up for the son who had acted inappropriately, and it caused a lot of time and a lot of effort, and this policy would eliminate that going forward.
I make the motion that we make the changes for the wordage that was approved by the selectmen already.
Second?
Any other discussion? I do recall the employee that is in question here. Our policy was put into place after that hiring.
That's what we gotta write.
And that was,
Right,
Right.
right.
that was
and-
why this was put into place, but it seems that this wording is a bit more specific.
I agree with the motion that Mr. Dunn just made, because this was approved by the administrator and the Board of Selectmen, and there is more clarity to it. It's got a little more teeth in it, and I definitely recommend that we accept this policy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Do we have any other board member comments or other business?
Yes. I noticed at the beginning of all our meetings that we do not say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I think out of respect for our country and our veterans, and we should say the Pledge of Allegiance like most meetings do.
Oh,
And I'd like to implement that.
okay.
I agree.
Do we need a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that before each meeting, the board say the Pledge of Allegiance in honor of the veterans.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 17th, 9 a.m., same room. And we'll look for a motion to adjourn at 9.
Mary Beth?
Oh, I'm
Any willingness to change that date? And the reason why I ask is, there's two reasons. It's school vacation week.
Oh.
I won't be available. I'll be away, but more importantly, we've deferred a number of requests on job reclassifications and positions because we have an override coming up in 2 weeks. It might make some sense that in order to kind of complete the budget after the override election, we meet shortly after that, maybe the week of the 10th, which would allow you to make some decisions on some of the matters that have been brought before you and deferred because of the uncertainty with the budget. We'll have clarity after the 3rd when there's the election. So sometime between the 3rd and the week of the 9th might be helpful.
Yeah, I will be
Already done, I'll forget it.
I will be traveling from the 31st to the 14th of April. Anytime.
And potentially out of town on the 10th, if we were to do
Okay,
it on the
so,
Tuesday.
I mean, we could leave it the way it is. Just understand that there'll be a lot of those decisions that you've deferred that will come up, and I'll put my recommendations in writing for your meeting on the 17th.
Well,
We're moving it to the 10th.
We're going to leave it to
We're
17th?
not, no, it's gonna be the 17th.
Yeah, I don't think you have a choice if your members aren't gonna be available that week before.
Sorry about that, but I'm going on vacation.
Just have to cancel.
You don't have to,
We-
never apologize for going on vacation,
I mean, I
sir.
think it's, if we,
Or we have a,
we'll have the information then for the 17th.
We will. Hopefully it's someplace warm.
Yes.
Okay, well, we can leave it for now, maybe if we get more information on,
postpone it.
we would have to,
Could always change it. Could always change it if we can.
yes. Okay, so the next meeting will be Tuesday, April 17th, 9 AM.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.